but here we are. So the differences, the main differences between the GR3 cars and the GR4 cars, this is so that you can tell them apart on the track as we do this replay, and hopefully you can at a glance. But the GR3 cars have more aero. So if you look at the front of this Ferrari here, oh my gosh, I forgot there's a photo mode and we can get right into it. I'm going to use the Ferrari as a better example. Well, no, that's fine. So Lambo, Red Bull Lambo. I love this livery, by the way. If you look right here, like on this front bumper towards the bottom, it's got this little winglet underneath the bull on both sides. That's called a canard. That catches air, pushes your front tires down, and also directs air over other aero parts of the car. But we won't get into that. That is just more downforce, period. And you see this splitter, this front splitter is super aggressive, pokes out like a good 3-4 inches, not 3-4, okay, 2 inches. It pokes out a good 2 inches. It's a lot of downforce on the front of the car. This wing is a pretty tall wing, pretty big. It doesn't have a super aggressive wing angle, but it's tall. It's way up in the air. It's almost level with the roof line. I believe it actually might be level with the roof line. I just can't get down low enough to see it. So that is what you'd see on a GR3 car as far as aero. Now, if we travel down the grid, this is so cool. I feel like I'm really a reporter on the grid. Travel down the grid into 9th place. We start to see GR4 cars. The Lambos are kind of cheaters, and I'm going to tell you why they're cheaters, okay? So if you look at this splitter on the Lambo, it's kind of like this double crazy, like, fighter jet thing. And it also has an integrated canard in it, which gives the GR4 Lambo a little more downforce in the front than some of these other cars. But if you look at the wing, it's not very tall. Those wing props are just little short, little stubby things. The wing does not poke up above the roof line, and therefore it catches less air than the wings that you would see on a GR3 car like this. Remember, look how tall that is. That's out there to catch up all that air. And I believe these are wider as well on the back of the GR3 car. Yeah, they're slightly wider. You can see the GR3 car's wings almost flank the fenders. They're almost wider than the fenders. The GR4 car is a narrower and shorter wing. Like I said, the Lambos are kind of cheating with their front aero. The Ferraris are a little bit too, but not fully. You can see there's a little divot there in that front bumper that does kind of work as its own canard, but it's not as aggressive as you saw on the front of the Lambo. And, you know, again, a little short stubby wheel. The rear diffusers, I forgot to talk about that. The rear diffusers on these cars are a little less aggressive than the GR3 cars as well, but they do have a rear diffuser. But I don't think we're going to be able to see that very well at full speed, so it doesn't matter. But you can see, like, the rear diffuser on the GR3, like, almost pokes out of the back of the car. It's huge. It's very wide. They're just allowed more downforce than the average, than the GR4s. Okay, those are the differences. Bar, I think you heard me when I said last night, like, maybe make a requirement where people have to change number plate colors or mirror colors and shit like that to, and stuff like that to differentiate between the cars. Can I cuss? Tell me if I can cuss or not. All right, let's get started with the race. Standing start, which is what I like. It's what I love. Let's make sure we can see all the race info. We're going to see tire wear and stuff like that too. Doesn't matter because it's not live, I don't think. Or I don't think it matters because it's not live. It's not like we're broadcasting info to other drivers. And here we are going into turn 1. We've seen this a few times now, but 3 wide into turn 1. Like, this battle up front does not get boring. However, I'm told there's a little surprise in the GR4 field that we need to go back and see. You can see GR4 back there just kind of not piddling along. These cars are very fast, but they're obviously slower than the GR3 cars that are now heading into that left-handed hairpin that leads to, I think, the most difficult section of this track. Still, a lot of drivers too wide. A little touch of the wall right there. Some sparks. Uh-oh. See some issues in GR4. Oh, yeah. Big drama right there for GR4. Oh, that's tough luck. Y'all did say it happened early. We're going to go way back, and we're going to see it happen from here. see if we can get a good view of what's going on. That's BBU type bar and CRC Python in front. Python seems to go wide in that gold Lambo. I think that's Python up there. Yes. And wow, Stog. Really, sorry, not SPG. BBU Tap really gets a poor bit of that. Bar, of course, ends up dead last. Probably the worst off in all of that. Looks like the car has damage on the front left. I don't know if damage is persistent in this race. I guess we can find out in a moment. But for now, let's go back to the front where there was also drama up here. And we're not going to miss it. We don't have to miss it. We can go back. So we're going back. Drivers are entering that uphill left-hand hairpin right here. And this is where it happens. Ooh, whose car do I want to be looking at this from? Yep. Let's go. Lots of drivers go wide, touch each other. Some people get stuck on the wall. There's a huge shuffle in the order. Doug was in 6th place a moment ago and is now in 1st. Big Red in 2nd in that big McLaren. You can see just around the corner there. I saw Crowhawk dip a wheel in the grass. A lot of drama already at the very start of the race in the first lap for both classes, and a huge shuffle in both classes in the order before the end of lap 1. So it sounds like this race was exciting. I can't wait. Lap 1 is already exciting. Let's see, what are we looking at here? So as far as GR3 goes, Vlave is still towards the back of that. Ben K, of course, got the worst of it. Ben K was fighting for 1st a moment ago and is now in 8th place. But looks like he's already starting to make passes. That's 2 passes into turn 1 right there. No, I'm sorry, just 1. Just Vlave. But is looking at Hairraiser. We're going to go on board with him here for a moment. And let's just see how he works his way through the field. The GR4 field is pretty scattered. There's not going to be much excitement there. But GR3 is still packed up together. And Ben K is really on a tear here. Gets a really nice angle into this long left-hander and is able to stay up behind Hairraiser. Doesn't get much closer, but is able to stay behind even in that dirty air, and gets a good run up this hill. See, even with the custom BOP, the Alpha maybe doesn't have the top speed or the acceleration that these other cars do with their bigger motors. Hopefully that doesn't turn out to be the case. But Hairraiser lost out on the uphill battle there, and now Ben has quite a bit to go to get up to these other drivers here. Man, it's still going on up there. So Doug is up front leading this pack, and you can see behind they're still going 3 wide into some corners. Like, it's not, nobody's letting up. Nobody's letting up and just settling down and staying behind. And I get it. I mean, we're racers, we're aggressive. Crowhawk up into 3rd with that Ferrari has made his way back into a podium position. I mean, you know, start of the race podium position. Swift making a move, though, around the outside. And again, we're 3 wide into it. Crowhawk locks up the brakes and doesn't make the corner at all, and collects a friend. Collects Supra, who I think quit the race at this point, because I remember them disappearing off track when we saw this happen earlier last night. So not really sure what happens to their car there, but Crowhawk, sorry, not Crowhawk, I was calling out the wrong name. Yar, my fault. Yar goes from 3rd all the way into 7th place now, and now is going to have to fight to get back up to the rest of the pack. Vlave has still just been chilling in the back here. I wonder what tires everyone's on. You know, let's do a rundown. So Doug was on the softs and has clearly run away. I can't see what the gap is. Unfortunately, that seems to be broken. But has a really good gap to 2nd place. Crow also on the softs. Ben is on the softs. Big Red on the softs. Hairraiser, softs. Vlave, softs. Yar on the softs. Okay, so everyone in GR3 is on the same tire, still on the softs. So Doug is just running away just on outright pace and probably luck, because everyone behind him is fighting. Meanwhile, on the GR4 field, Supra is on those mediums. Python is on the softs and probably going to catch up to Supra pretty soon here and try to make a pass. SPG Type R on the mediums. B8 mediums and Bar on the mediums. So most of the GR4 field is on the mediums. Python is going to need to get up ahead of Supra and take advantage of the fact that he's on the softer tire, the faster tire, and try to run away before the pit window opens here. Meanwhile, Doug is just racing alone. However, Crow has a Ben right up there. Ben, if you remember, fell down into like 7th or 8th place. He's already back up in the 3rd. There's been so much drama in the first 3 or 4 laps here. 3 laps, really. We're still at the start of lap 4. Crow goes purple in the first sector, by the way, and I think that's the second purple sector that Crow had put together. I wish we could see the fastest lap, but we can't in this view. However, we may be able to see in live timing. Yes, Ben does have the fastest lap right now with a 1:41.445 in the race. So Ben's putting together some real good times, but not making a pass on Crowhawk. So I don't know if that's on purpose or another purple sector. Sorry, that was purple for Crowhawk actually, but Ben was right behind him, maybe purple right behind him. I didn't see his time, but these cars are still getting faster. Obviously, we're still just at the start of the race. The tires are warmed up now. The fuel tanks are gonna get lighter. In fact, they're already significantly lighter. Ben's got a 1/4 tank of fuel left, or sorry, it's down a 1/4 tank of fuel already 4 laps in. So the fuel wear is pretty aggressive in the race here. The fuel use rate, rather. Hair Razor all the way in the back of the GR3 pack versus Doug, who's in the exact same car, who's way up front with a huge gap. Kind of goes to show you how things can differ between 2 drivers, even with the same car. Ben, meanwhile, is like aggressively behind Crow. Like, it's not even like, oh, Ben's behind me. It's like, no, Ben's aggressively behind me. Ben would like to be inside of Crow's exhaust. And I love it. That's my favorite kind of close racing. And just get right in there, pick up that slipstream, and also maybe make your opponent a little nervous, you know, just because you're back there. I don't know what you're doing back there. Meanwhile, you're twiddling your thumb. You know what? I'm going to watch Ben. Is Ben short shifting? Is Ben saving fuel? Ooh, doesn't look like it. Which you would think that, you know, being right behind Crow like that, Ben would short shift and save a little fuel in that Lambo, but looks like he is revving it all the way out, just letting those revs hang, which, hey, that is also a strategy. Ben into the wall, I think, just in that dirty air, wasn't able to make the turn. Let's take another look at it here. It's following pretty well behind Crowhawk. And this is a scary corner, this left-hander, when you're in... Oh, he got a wheel in the grass. That's what it was. Touched a wheel. You know what? Let's... Did I miss it? I didn't miss it. We're going to go back, see it from another angle. In fact, we'll see it from Crowhawk's car. So here's Ben just behind. I went a little too far back. That's on me, y'all. But we're getting there. We're getting to the corner where that just happened. It's gonna be right over here, and you can see right there actually gets both wheels, both outside wheels into the grass, and Ben immediately loses a position there and ends up in 4th, but not too bad. 4th place isn't too bad to end up after literally putting it into the wall, but it's gonna have to be slow for a bit while those tires while he gets debris off those tires. Dirty tires are a thing in this game. They last a few corners. Ben is gonna go ahead and pit. Probably has damage to deal with, or maybe just wants to pit. I don't know what the rules are actually. Hey Bar, the replay's working great. What is the rule behind damage? Is it permanent damage, or does it go away? Well, we're gonna check in with GR4, see what's going on there. No one really racing too closely. We've got B8 UTAP and Bar racing together here, but Type R is way far back. Supra is pretty far ahead of those two, getting around that corner, and yeah, it looks like it's going to be a while before they even pop up. So the GR4 race, not too exciting. There they go right there, Bar and BBU Tap right there. Doug, meanwhile, still doing well, but the gap to Crow is a little bit smaller, I think, because Crow doesn't have Ben to worry about. Crow's been able to pick up some pace, or maybe something happened to Doug. I'm not really sure there, but Crow right up on Doug now as they get into the last sector of the racetrack, and if Doug stays there, might get a good slipstream into the first corner and just take that position. So nope, looks like Doug's gonna try to go for the move right here in the second to last corner, which is an option, a slower option. I think Doug had the chance at a nice pass in the straight, but pass done. Sorry, Crow, rather. Crow had a chance at a pass. Pass done. Doug lets him through nice and neat, and so these two will race together for a bit. They have a huge gap to third and fourth back there, so it's just these two for the time being. It looks like Crow's going to go defensive. Doug on the outside there, breaks a little bit earlier, maybe looking for the over-under. Doesn't get it, though. Crow also braked pretty early, and so they're going to continue racing together here. Behind them, Big Red. Big Red has a gap to Hair Razor. Doesn't have much to worry about. However, it's not a big enough gap that he can afford mistakes. So we're going to keep an eye on both of these two as well. A little bit more excitement in GR3 right now than GR4. Like I said, it is light damage. So Ben pitted. Doesn't look like he took fuel. It looks like he's gone on the medium tire. I don't know if... I'm interested to see what this strategy is, because Ben came off of the soft, took the medium tire pretty early in the race. I don't know if maybe he's just going to try to get his medium tire laps done in clean air. There's nobody around him, so pretty easy to just get the fastest laps you absolutely can. There's no one to battle. And maybe take another pit stop for the softs. You have to take at least one pit stop. You do have to take both sets of tires. But there's nothing that I saw in the rules that's going to keep you from jumping back in and going back on the softs towards the end of the race. Minimum drive time is 5 laps in the race. You can't pit before lap 5 is what the rule was from what I saw. Well, why don't we double check that? We're here. Yep, you can't pit within 5 laps of the race. Now, Ben pitted on lap 5. I haven't taken a look at any of the results or anything like that. Did I just see Ben go off track? Is that what I saw? Or okay, no, my fault. But I'm sorry, that is not the right scene. Anyway, Ben didn't go off track. We didn't miss it. Just got the wheels in the grass a little bit there. So we're going to go away from that. But Ben pitted on lap 5. I have not looked at the race results. I didn't want to spoil the race for myself. So I haven't looked at any stewarding. I don't know if there was a penalty for that or not. But I would imagine that that would be looked at, because within 5 laps and pitting on lap 5, that's pretty contentious. But it does depend on how the stewards interpret the rule. Doug, meanwhile, is back in front of Crow. Not really surprising. Doug was right up on Crow going into some of the more twisty sectors. But this is a pretty fast track. It does have some slow corners. It's got some nice technical corners as well. It's a really fun track to race, actually. But I think it does favor a car with better top speed. However, this is a custom balance of performance. So the Alpha has probably got a boost in power, so that maybe it can compete with the Lambo on top speed, because it looks like Doug's really holding his own up here. Meanwhile, Big Red has a Hair Razor problem. They were not that close to one another, but now, like I said, Big Red couldn't afford any mistakes, and maybe mistakes were made, because now Hair Razor's right in his back seat. The 458 doesn't have a backseat. Hair Raiser is in his engine compartment, checking his valves, and is looking to make a move around the outside into turn 1. That's not going to happen, but sometimes you're not trying to make the pass. Sometimes you're just trying to apply pressure, and I like the way Hair Raiser is racing right now. I like the way both sets of cars are racing right now. Hair Raiser pokes a nose out as they head into that corner, maybe trying to throw Big Red off of the line for a second. Didn't seem to work. Big Red doing great. Someone's getting a blue flag, and that can't be right. Who? Oh, that is right, actually. It looks like, yeah, Type R is in 11th place and is about to get lapped already by the field. So, Type R not really in a good place. Did he pit? No, it doesn't look like it. Tires still have wear. Both GR3 cars go around, the leading GR3 cars rather, go around the outside there. So that's done. He's going to have to let third and fourth go by here as well whenever it's opportune. Of course, they're going to want to take advantage of that. And Big Red does do a good job getting around, which gives him a little bit of a gap now to Hair Raiser. Good job using traffic there and gets him closer, in fact, to Crowhawk. And that battle, see Crowhawk going wide into that hairpin there. And now the GR3 is a little bit bunched up again. That's what traffic does. That's what multi-class racing does. That's awesome. Just the one car has changed the face of this race. Crow is no longer racing Doug and is now racing Big Red. Hair Raiser's not racing anyone after just a couple of corners trying to get around one car. If you are not familiar with how blue flags work, I'm happy to explain it. So what a blue flag... Oh, no. We're going to get back to blue flags later. There's been an incident. What happened? Crowhawk and Big Red on the inside into turn 1. Crowhawk just goes wide. Just gets those wheels into that slippery stuff. And, yeah, it goes right there. We'll get a closer look at that. We'll look at it step by step. Can I get a chase cam? There we go. Let's get a chase cam. So you look at those right side wheels. And that blue stuff right there, you can use it. But it's a little bit slippery, so you have to be careful, though. I'm pretty sure you can brake on it. But Crow goes out into it, and that just pitches the car sideways. To be honest, I'm not even sure if it's the slippery stuff that pitched it. I'm not exactly sure what happened here. I don't know if there was a weird braking input or a weird throttle input, but the rear end just comes around on him, and it looks like he tried to save the slide. This is how you do slow motion, by the way, on a replay. You just press this button over and over again. He's in a flat slide here, and you can see the angle of the car. The car is pointed one way, but we're kind of traveling more to the right, right? It's severe understeer, and the rear end just comes all the way around at this point. He never does catch that slide. At this point, the angle is just crazy. And then, you know, that's all she wrote. Into the wall. And so, bad luck there for Crowhawk. Gets back underway. That's our lapped driver right there. Type R. But Crowhawk's going to get around just fine. Meanwhile, that's Vlave in the background. That is a GR3 car coming up, and you can see the differences between these GR3 Ferraris right here. That tall rear wing on the green car versus that little one on the red one. But Vlave now has a Crow to hunt, and maybe can get up there and give us a battle between these two. Up front, what has happened? Big Red inherits second place and is now after Doug, and isn't that far off from Doug. In fact, Hair Raiser still not really in any racing, and that's fine. You just get those clean laps going. You know, maybe. No, they're still right there. If Big Red and Doug get to fighting, Hair Raiser will be right there. Crowhawk has a long way to go, and just needs to focus on staying away from Vlave. Ben, meanwhile, is way back. I mean, just nowhere in the picture after pitting, though, and has fresh tires on, has some fresh mediums on, so it's just running easy, clean qualifying laps on those mediums. And we'll see how that plays out when everyone else pits. Python, meanwhile, also seems to be doing okay. Pretty consistent lap times from what I can see over on the right hand side there. A bunch of 21s, an inspired 150.5 at one point. Not sure how that happened. That's significantly faster than all the other laps around it. But got a really nice lap there out of Python. Supra, meanwhile, sitting in 8th place. Can see Python, but isn't quite there yet. And it looks like maybe about to get lapped. I'm seeing blue flags waving here. The lap times are a little bit all over the place for Supra at this point. A bunch of 52s, 51s, 55 in there. So Supra still trying to get into the groove of the race here, though mistakes happen, you know. That is more than half the battle when it comes to racing in sim racing games. Your first thought should not be about being fast. Your first thought should be about consistency. BBU Tap getting lapped by our leader, Doug Merrow. Doug Merrow makes that pass really nicely. We've got the big car coming through now. Big Red and Hair Razor now also trying to get around that traffic. Luckily, the track is nice and wide here. They're able to do it, but everyone gets thrown off their line doing it. Big Red gets it the worst and completely spins. You know, it's not really surprising. And I'll say this, because while a blue flag is an indicator that cars that are, you know, a lap ahead of you or more are coming through and that you need to let them through, it is up to those cars to pass safely. So if that means they have to slow down and wait behind you, it means they have to slow down and wait behind you. Now, Big Red, you know, Big Red's got Hair Razor right there behind. So Big Red maybe doesn't have the luxury to go that slow, because here's how close Hair Razor is. However, the part of the track they're on, when I press play, you're going to see it. That part of the track is pretty flat out. It's pretty corked out, rather, as far as the handling characteristics of the car. You're fairly on the edge at that part of the track, and there is really only one good line through it. And since there's only one real good line through it, it kind of makes sense just to let the slower car go through, and then you make the pass deeper in. There was a left-hander coming in. The GR3 cars can brake later, and they would have been able to make that pass on the inside the way we saw Doug make the pass earlier. But instead, we're going to see what happens here. We're going to get Big Red going around the outside there. That actually, you know what? I just gave that big old speech, but that's not what threw Big Red off. Big Red was off the line way after that. So ignore that whole speech that I just gave. It was a lie. Big Red made that pass way before going off track. It looks like just didn't get the turn in. Maybe carrying a little too much speed into this left-hander here, because you can see he never really apexes it and is wide, tries to correct, and just goes off into the wall. And that gives Hair Razor second place. Big Red ends up in fourth behind Crow, and yeah, that's Vlave, not too far behind, but far enough that I don't think Big Red has much to worry about there. But Big Red goes from potentially fighting for first, being behind Doug, and is now back in the fourth place and finds himself having to climb again. Wow, how embarrassing. I gave that whole speech on blue flags. That whole speech for no reason. Big Red's going to go ahead and pit. This is probably a good time to, yes, take tires, take fuel. Crow also into pit lane. See those bright liveries, or bright uniforms rather, on Crow's crew. Tires go on. Fuel is going in. We're going to wait on the fuel. Let's see how much Crow fills up. We're 11 laps in. 19 and a half minutes into the race. Remember, this is a 50-minute race, so if we're pitting on lap 20, chances are there will be a second pit stop rather. So a two-stop strategy most likely for these two cars here. They both go onto the medium tire and are just going to do their middle stint on the mediums. I'd be surprised if they didn't pit again to take softs. The mediums will last longer, but I don't know that the fuel will last up until lap 50, so I'm predicting a two-stop strategy for most of these cars. Definitely for Ben, who we saw pit really early, pitted on lap 5 for those mediums. We're seeing a little bit of wear on those, and Ben is under a quarter tank of fuel. So Ben's going to pit again in just a few laps here. I think a quarter tank gives us about 4 laps. So I'm expecting him in around lap 16 or 17 as he's already below that quarter tank. Ooh, and into the grass. We've seen Ben do that a lot in that corner. Actually, no, this corner, but Ben not really. Yeah, this corner too. Ben not really able to keep those right side tires out of the grass. Hairraiser and Doug, our leader, are both in. Vlave does not pit, and so Vlave's going to go around for at least another lap and inherits first place. But remember, he owes a pit stop. Hairraiser is now out and comes out behind Ben. Doug comes out just behind Hairraiser. And you have to wonder if there won't be maybe a team order here. I think they're on the same team. They have the same livery. Maybe to let Doug by, because Doug definitely has more pace than Hairraiser, at least on the softs. We'll see what the mediums do. Looks like they're going to go side by side for a bit here. Doug does get up in front of Hairraiser, so yeah, re-inherits third place. And 2 cars ahead owe pit stop, so that puts Doug back into first. And Hairraiser, oh no, well, and this was not the commentator's curse. This isn't live, but Doug, I think that's just a dip in the grass. I think that's just one wheel in the grass, and it completely spun the little Fiat around. All right. What are you doing? That's not what I asked for. Thank you. Get out here. There's not even that much grass to catch, which is the crazy part, right? Like it's like a few inches of grass and then barrier. But Doug gets in it and the car goes around, and so that tried to save it there but wasn't able to. So that's a loss of first place for Doug, because I think that's far back enough that even with Vlave and Ben pitting, he's not going to get ahead of them. Well, he might. The pit lane is kind of long, but Hairraiser is really our de facto first place driver here at this point, as Doug spun out right in front of him. Crow is in 5th and coming up on some traffic here. Hopefully is able to make that pass fairly quickly and safely. I don't see anyone else fighting, so we'll sit here and watch how this pass goes. Easily done. Not a problem. Doug's through. Perfect. I've got an offer to get famous, and I think we're just going to go ahead and block that, because I don't want to be famous, alright? I don't want to be famous. Let's see. Doug's going to have to get his head back in the game, see what these lap times are looking like after that big wreck. See if they're able to get back into it and maybe put something together here. Hairraiser, meanwhile, coming up on traffic as well. Ben and Vlave still haven't pitted, but Vlave is going to have to soon. Like, that gas pump is flashing. May have another lap or two left in them. Ben is going to get the pass on the GR4 car up the hill. Once again, easily done right there, as these cars do have superior top speed. Superior acceleration, rather. I think the GR4s have similar top speed, but the GR3s are definitely going to pull up a hill and put a gap on them, as you saw Ben do there. But our field is pretty spread out as far as class to class. GR3 is all spread out and intermixed with some GR4 cars. Crow, man, Crow's having a hard time with the rear end of that car in this race, huh? Just constant oversteer for that Lambo. Vlave into the pits. And I think that might have been Hair Raiser that we saw about to pass. Ben does not pit. Remember, Ben pitted a little bit earlier already, but will owe a pit stop soon. But Ben and Hair Raiser through. Doug also through. Vlave down in 4th place. Still has to wait for fuel. We've got Crowhawk coming up not too far. Crowhawk is on the start-finish straight now and makes that pass. Vlave, meanwhile, is still in the pits, but that's the entirety of the GR3 field now has driven by, and they'll be gone for a while. Again, the pit strategies are very different for these drivers. This is a lap 15 pit for Vlave. This is a fairly late pit, about 24, 23 minutes into the race, about halfway through the race. So Vlave may be looking for a single stop race here, is going to get on the mediums and stay on the mediums. Ben, meanwhile, is going to use every last bit of fuel in that car for this medium stint and is going to jump in. I wonder if he's going to get back on the mediums or on the softs. I don't know that the softs are going to take him to the end of the race. I don't know that he's got 25 minutes in the softs. But we'll see what he takes when he jumps into the pits. Ooh, Hair Raiser, a lot of apex there, just using up as much of the track as possible. That's what you got to do if you want to be fast. And there's a lot of track available to you when you're in a car as tiny as the Fiat. What's teammate Doug doing? Hey Kyle, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Doug up into 3rd. Well, you know, back where he had fallen. Doesn't really have anyone to race, just has some GR4 traffic up ahead there. Python in the gold Lambo. Meanwhile, Ben's in the pits. Came in behind Hair Raiser. Doug goes ahead and passes. Got 1% fuel left in that car. So we're going to see this pit stop, and I'm curious to know what tires Ben is coming out on. Will they be softs, or is Ben just going to do another medium stint so that he can make it to the end of the race? Again, I don't think the softs can make it to the end of the race, and I don't know that a 3rd pit stop is worth it. Pit lane here isn't ridiculously long, but it, you know, it's not short either. So we'll see. Ben comes out in 5th place, just behind some a GR3 car. Vlave is up ahead into 4th. Crow has made that pass on, I believe that's B8 UTAP. Is that? Yes, that is B8 there in that green and gray Ferrari. B8, by the way, is in 2nd place in the GR4 race. Python has 1st place and has it by a lot. Doing pretty well there. BB UTAP is up ahead, and can he see Python? No, I don't even think that B8 can see Python. Bar, meanwhile, 3rd place in GR4 in a really cool livery. I like that red and white Ferrari livery. Quite frankly, everything looks good on that Ferrari. So, you know, it's really just a matter of slapping a livery together. The car makes it work for you. Supra in 9th place. That is 4th place in the class. And then you've got Type R way in the back here. I don't think we've seen much from Type R at all in the race. But again, GR4 got pretty spread out from the very jump. All the action has been in GR3. Hair Raiser getting 1st place after being, like, Hair Raiser was last in the class for most of the 1st stint. And through a great pit stop where they jumped a lot of cars. I think maybe had been saving fuel back there, being in last place in the class. I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest with you, but jumps up in the pits and then inherits 1st place from Doug, who spun out. But you know what? My mic was in the way. Hair Raiser's out of gas. Hair Raiser has to pit again. Now, I did talk about the 2-stop strategy being what makes the most sense to me, but, you know, we're not even 30 minutes into the race now. I didn't think that the stint on the mediums would be quite so short, but it might work out. Let's see how it works out. I did not do any practicing with these drivers. I don't know what the timing works out to as far as what a 2 stint looks like versus a 1 stint. or sorry, a 2-stop strategy looks like versus a 1-stop strategy. And I wasn't paying attention to what laps you would want to do either one on. But I will say Doug, who's in the same car as Hellraiser, pitted on the exact same lap and is carrying a lot more fuel. So I get the feeling Hellraiser did short fuel that car. Again, maybe on purpose, maybe with the intent of just putting together a quick stint. In fact, yeah, Doug is in too. So Doug on a similar strategy, but is carrying more fuel. I think both these drivers are going back on the softs and are going to try to finish out the rest of the race, the next 20 minutes on the soft tire. Crow passes by on a fairly fresh set of mediums and plenty of fuel enough to finish out the race. So I don't think Crow plans to stop again. Hellraiser fueling up to full, so it looks like, so almost full, 96% fuel in Hellraiser's Fiat. And yes, back onto the soft. Doug, teammate, comes out behind, also on the soft tire. So these drivers are in it till the end. I think they're gonna have to do a little saving on those tires though, but at the same time they need to use them to catch up to these guys. Ben is also on the softs but is fully fueled up. We did just see Ben pit. He's on a slightly different pit schedule than the other drivers, but also on a 2-stop strategy. Vlave still on the mediums from that first stop. Vlave pitted almost exactly halfway through the race, so I'm pretty sure Vlave is going for 1 stop. That car is full of fuel and heavy with it, so I think he's waiting to go to the end without another stop here. We already talked about Ben. Crow also on the mediums with a decent amount of fuel. I don't know if that's enough fuel to make it to the end because it's not anything near what everyone else has in their car, so Crow may come in for a splash and some softs, which might actually be the best strategy, to be honest with you, as make that second pit stop, tires and a quick splash of fuel, so you're carrying a little less fuel than everyone else. Hellraiser played his fuel count perfectly, came into that pit with almost no gas at all in the car, which means he had the absolute lightest car out there for that medium stint. He does let Doug back through ahead. Again, Doug was just carrying a little bit more speed, more actual pace. Just had an unfortunate moment into a wall after their first pit stop. Python is in, and we had seen B8 come in a lap ago as well. So GR4 starting to come in for their new tires and their things. Python started on the softs, and I'm pretty sure this is Python's first stop. I think this is the first stop for all of the GR4 cars. I don't think we've seen any GR4 cars pit. So, but maybe I'm wrong, because Python's on the mediums. Okay, they just hadn't updated yet. Python does jump on the mediums, gonna finish out the last 18 minutes or so on that tire. B8 comes out on the softs. Python was the only GR4 car on softs for this first stint, so Bar is already out with the softs. Supra is now going to jump out. Should also be on that soft tire, so it'll be interesting to see if B8, or is that? Sorry, I saw something. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if B8 has got enough of a gap to hold on to that second place in, sorry, Python rather. It's be interesting if Python has enough of a gap to hold on to first place in the class. B8's not far off. You just saw him back there in the back of the shot with Python, and he should pop up again here. Yeah, so he isn't that far away. He is on the softer tire, and if he knows how to use it, he should be able to take that position from Python. But maybe Python is far enough ahead to keep drivers like Bar, Supra, and Type R from catching up to them. To be honest, I don't think Type R is in the GR4 race at all. I don't see any GR4 race cars around him. Really wish we could see what the gap is, but we can't. So yeah, but you saw Type R getting some blue flags there. We got some GR3 cars coming up on him. Crowhawk is still into first place on the mediums. Like I said, I don't know if that fuel is going to make it. He's got a lot less fuel, about a quarter tank less fuel than the other cars in the class. But He might know something that we don't. So we'll see if he jumps in for a splash and a tire change. Ben and Vlave are at it. Ben is on the soft tire, though, and Vlave on the medium. Looks like Ben's going to go ahead and jump to the inside for this left-hander and should easily hold on to that pass because Vlave isn't going to be able to break his deep or get back on the throttle as quickly. And, yeah, that pass is done. Vlave not really defending too hard there. There wasn't really much that he could defend as Ben already had the inside going up the hill. So Vlave's going to tuck in and maybe hope for a little bit of slipstream before Ben completely runs away. Doug, meanwhile, is still leading teammate Hairraiser as they try to catch up to these people up front. Crowhawk does pit. Crowhawk is going to pit for soft tires and maybe a splash of fuel. Ben is coming through on the start-finish straight. He's going to take first place away from Crowhawk. Come on, let me get to Crowhawk. We're going to watch this pit stop here. Vlave also makes a pass. Vlave's on the mediums, remember. Crowhawk is taking a splash of fuel and is out of the pits now. And comes out at the very, very back of the entire pack here. Probably doesn't stand a chance of catching up to Hairraiser or Doug, who are both also on the soft tire. Crow does have a little less fuel in the car, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. Perhaps the BOP has changed, has played around with the weights and how the cars compare as far as curb weight goes. But yeah, I think you can do in live timing. Yeah, in live timing we can go and see the time gap. It's just a lot of trouble. But you know, why don't we do it while we're here? Ben's already got a 2.5 second gap on Vlave. Vlave is another 2 seconds ahead of Doug. Or sorry, it's 2 seconds ahead of Doug. No, that's not how that works. He's 4.5 seconds ahead of Doug. Because Hairraiser, you can see, is right behind Doug. Half a second gap at the moment. Crowhawk is 7.5 seconds back from Hairraiser. And so that's a huge gap to overcome when all these cars are on the same tire. But again, Crowhawk does have a little less fuel in the car. Hairraiser and Doug now coming up on Vlave. Vlave's on the mediums. Doesn't really stand much of a chance. Ooh, Doug almost loses it again. Not in the same spot, but in the same way. Just dips a wheel into the grass and lost the rear end a little bit there. Gotta be careful with these cars. You gotta be cognizant of where your corners are, though it can be hard to see in some views. Little bumper cam action here. Looks like Vlave is just going to go ahead and stay outside and just let them have it. I think Vlave knows, hey, I'm not on the best tire, and it's not fast for me to try to fight y'all, so let's just go. Let's just do this. I still have a chance to not come in last in class, and I'll just use you guys for a slipstream. So both drivers through easily, and they are now on the hunt for Ben, who, what was the timing? What was the gap? Between Ben and Doug, it's an 8-second gap. Whew, that's huge. 8 seconds, and we have about 12 minutes left in the race. That's a lot to try to overcome. So, Ben looking like he's come out on top here with that really short first stint. If you remember, Ben was on the softs for all of 4 laps and pitted on lap 5 to take the medium tire, and then did a fairly long stint on the mediums, but with completely clean air. Didn't have to fight anyone. Everyone else had drama during that time, but Ben was just running clean laps, admittedly after some drama of his own. I think he pitted because he had spun, if I recall correctly. But I wondered if all those free laps on the mediums were going to put him up ahead. Looks like it has. The gap is 8 seconds with 12 minutes left in the race. Doug is still running with his teammate here, Hairraiser. A little bit of side-by-side action here. I don't know if Hairraiser is trying to make a move. I think it's just easier to go outside than, well, no. Hairraiser wants the corner and doesn't quite make it. You see that car got real sideways there, and Doug was able to capitalize. Actually, I want to see that pass again. That looked cool. Should we use this angle? I guess chase cam works out. But you're going to see right here, Hairraiser just kind of overcooks it into the corner and turns in real sharp, trying to make that hairpin. I think even touched the fender of Doug a little bit there, and that just threw him off here. A lot of tires screeching. Doug's able to get that position back easily. Maybe slowed both of them up a little bit there. Not something they can really afford here if they really want to catch Ben. Doug in that first stint was in first place and had a pretty big gap for a while there. But now they're on the back foot. Crowhawk is just in the background of them. Again, Crowhawk with a lighter car. What's that gap now? Hairraiser to Crowhawk is 3.8 seconds. So, wow. I think timing might be broken because, I mean, these gaps are crazy. Now it's showing half a second between Hairraiser and Ben, and that's not possible. Now it's 9.5. Okay. Can't trust the timing. Noted. However, this Crowhawk timing stayed pretty steady. 3.5 seconds. I don't know. I don't know. It looks like 3.5 seconds. To me. To me. In my opinion, 3.5 seconds. Also, the opinion of live timing. But, yeah, gotta be careful looking at that. Sometimes it's a bit off. Crowhawk just put down the fastest lap and has been putting down fastest laps all night. I kind of forgot about that. Crowhawk has been on top of pace. The lap before last was just a 140.4, which is the fastest lap so far. So definitely eating time, getting time out of Hairraiser and Doug. And I hope that we do get to see Crowhawk catch up. I'd love to see a three-way battle here towards the end of the lap, or towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, what's this? Is this GR4 having a thing? It is GR4 having a thing. Python and B8. Python's on the mediums, though. If you recall, B8 is on the softs, and I think that's just what you just saw was B8 easily making that pass. In fact, Python locked up a little. You're going to see a little bit of white smoke coming out of those tires as they get into the corner. Yet locked up the inside just momentarily. Nothing too dramatic, but maybe trying to brake a little bit later for that corner, knowing there's a soft tire person coming up. But Python easily able to dive in and take the inside line there. And I think he's going to keep that position, barring a mistake. Where's Vlave? We lost Vlave out of the race, and I don't know when it happened. Maybe a while ago. I'm not sure. Ooh, why every time I try to say something, drama happens. Doug, in a similar spot to last time, dips a wheel in the grass, gets out of, gets a little squirrely, and ends up having to tuck in behind Hairraiser. If you look now, Crow is significantly closer. At this point, it's literally not questionable. Crow is definitely taking down some of that gap to these drivers. According to the timing right now, it's 1.5 seconds. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, but it doesn't look far off. Yeah, a little bit of traffic coming up here. That's Supra. Supra moves to the side and lets Crow go on the outside there. Crow is on a tear, trying to catch up to these two Fiats. These are not Fiats. These two Alfa Romeos. And I think I've called them a Fiat a million times tonight. Anyway, trying to catch up to these two Alphas and get himself a podium position, maybe even get deep into the podium, get second place. I don't think there's a chance on Ben for Crow. Ben has been holding it down this whole time, but Crow definitely has a chance at the Alpha drivers. Timing between Ben and Hairraiser, that gap hasn't gotten any smaller between these two groups of drivers, between Ben, Hairraiser, and Doug Barrow. Crow, however, is now within the slipstream of the two Alphas. So I'm gonna go bumper cam for a little bit because I want to see what the next couple of corners look like here. I don't think we're going to see anything just yet. So I'm going to take a quick peek at BA and Python. All right, they're not doing nothing. Starting our next lap here, Crow's going to try to get a slipstream. What little slipstream you can get out of those tiny little alphas. Doug immediately dips defensive. Crow feigns like he's going to go even deeper inside. Doesn't make it happen. Tries an over-under on Doug. That almost works because Doug messed up, but I think Crow also messed up in the middle of that. And you know what? Since the angles weren't that great on that, I want to watch it again. We're going to watch it from the broadcast cam because that was Crow trying to get an over-under. It breaks a little bit earlier here to try to get past Doug. Doug squirrely gets into the curb there. And you know what? Crow does eventually get just ahead, but oof, Doug does not want to let it go. Doesn't let it go. Holds on to it. Crow into the grass, trying to get around. There's a little bit of time left. Crow is feeling a little bit desperate. I can see it. 5.5 minutes left in the race. He wants to get not just Doug, but also Hairraiser, who's up ahead. But this whole fight is letting Hairraiser run away. Hairraiser's got what looks like a pretty good gap on these two cars now. And I can actually pause and go see what that gap is without missing any action. So Hairraiser 1.2 seconds out from Doug and Crow right now. So out of the slipstream of both of these, or these two drivers are out of Hairraiser's slipstream. If Crow can't make this pass happen soon, they're both going to lose Hairraiser. Boop. Continue. Crow again to the outside, and it's going to go around the outside, or try to go around the outside. Not even trying to go for an over-under on that one. Just looking to make the pass stick outside. I don't know if he thinks the alphas are on the mediums maybe and can't make these corners, because that just seemed like a really low percentage attempt there. Crow out into the grass again. Just kind of over driving it here. Just a bit too aggressive trying to make this pass, but hopefully can make it happen soon. I can just sense the desperation. We have traffic coming up here. This is Barr up ahead, and that is going to be a thing unless the pass happens in the straight. I think it's going to happen in the straight pretty easily here. Yep, that's Doug pass, and Crow should also get past before the end. Yep, doesn't get in the way of this battle. Good job by Barr to just let them do their thing and pass through. Doug around the inside. Crow again trying the over-under, and I think does successfully get the inside for the next turn. In fact, gets ahead of Doug before the next turn and has that position. That doesn't mean that the position is secured. It just means he got it for the moment. I don't think Doug is just going to let that go. That said, Doug's tires are a bit more worn than Crow's are. Crow's tires are a little bit fresher. He pitted a few laps after Doug, after those two alphas. And look at this, more GR4 traffic to get around before he can get to Hairraiser. Python moves to the side quickly for him, letting him through there. Hairraiser has gotten through B8, is going to try to get through Type R here. Not B8, I'm sorry. Is that... It's somebody. It's somebody. Anyway, this is a like putting a puzzle together. Crow still trying to get around Type R. Makes it finally see a bit more of a gap to Hairraiser there, but I think he's through all the worst of the traffic. Doug Barrow does follow through easily. So now these two are free of that big gaggle of GR4 cars there. The GR4 cars are in their own battle. Of course, B8 here. No, this isn't a battle. This is B8 lapped Type R. So no, my fault. Not a battle, just a gaggle. So back to this one. Doug is still hanging on to Crowhawk. Is Crow getting any closer to Hairraiser though? That gap was 1.2 the last time we checked it. I'm guessing it's bigger. Yeah, it's 2 seconds now. We've got 2.5 minutes left in the race. I think Hairraiser just has to keep it together here. Crowhawk too, if he wants to hold on to this podium, shouldn't make any big mistakes because Doug is right there, ready to get it if need be. Ben, meanwhile, putting together some leisurely laps, chilling. Ben hasn't had to race anybody since lap 5. You'll have to see it. Crow and Doug. I don't know. Are we going to see something from these two? Are we going to see more drama? I think Crow is starting to put a bit of a gap on Doug. Yeah, Doug's going wide. Didn't even apex that corner. He's going to need to back those corners up. The fronts, again, on that Alpha are a bit more worn than those on the Lambo. And that's going to be a factor in braking. That's going to be a factor in everything. Unless Crow makes a mistake, like what must have just happened here. What just happened? Crow up the hill. Into the turn. Was that a wall touch? Ooh, into the grass a little bit there. I want to see that from this angle. Oh, yeah. Taps the wall. Ends up outside. Taps the wall on the outside. Yep, just ping-ponged. And that puts Doug right there to take third place back away. There's not a lot of race left. There's going to be one more lap left, but Crow's not going to make it. Crow just spun. Pardon me. And we lost him. Touches that wall. I've done that. Yep, that wall will get you. And that was the end of Crow. Not sure if that was on purpose or what, but that's the end of that. Sorry, I really needed a sip of water there. But wow, Crow in this epic fight to get up into third place and maybe make a play for second, ends up spinning it with 1 lap to go and leaves the race. I don't know if that was a crash. We saw Vlave also leave out. I think we lost someone else earlier in the race as well. But there's Crow, who was once battling for a podium position, and he's gone. So now our GR3 field is down to Ben, Hairraiser, Doug. That's it. 3 GR3 drivers remain from a field of 8 in this race. So we've lost a lot of people, a lot of attrition. Again, just trying to figure out, you know, was the lobby broken? Or, you know, were these rage quits? What happened to the GR3 field through the race? It's kind of disappointing to see. We had such a big field at the start. We got 8 drivers in this lobby where we started with 13. So I hope those weren't rage quits. You know, it sucks when the lobby is messed up, but it sucks worse when you have racers who won't finish out the race. So I hope that's not the case here. Ben is going to take it through that last corner one last time for the win. I don't think Ben ever led the race. If he did, maybe for a lap. And yet comes away with the win here. Hairraiser's going to come in second place after spending the whole of the first stint at the back of the GR3 field. Doug comes into third, who was once leading the race, but Doug's had a bunch of bad luck in the race after the second, during the second stint, and some in the third as well. Meanwhile, our GR4 cars are just starting to take the checker flag. That's B8 coming through for first in the field. Then Python, followed by Bar. We've got Supra still waiting. Type R takes the flag, having been lapped. He's actually behind, but Supra is going to finish the final lap of the race in 4th place in the GR4 field. And that, y'all, is round 1. Done.